Okay. We are going live now on the Sicho from Shabbos Toldot, Mevorchim Kislev, Aaron, and it's like this year. It's also Erev Rosh Chodesh. Tonight's Rosh Chodesh. So I'm trying to get back to the text. Okay, how do I get back here? Is that like this? No. Show meeting. I don't know what's going on here. Oh, there we go. Okay, so the Rebbe says like this: Al pasuk vayitin lecha lehim vayitin lecha on the verse vayitin lecha, which is the verse that starts with the sixth reading, which is the blessing that Yaakov receives from his father Yitzchak, thinking that it is Esav. So we learned about this a little bit in the first class in the in the Torah Or. Now we're learning the Rebbes Farbrengen from 1958. So on the verse Vayitin Lecha, Isa b'Medrash, it says in the Medrash like this: Sheyas Yaakov nisparach be'eser brachas. Yaakov was blessed with 10 brachas, 10 blessings, keneged asara mamorish rem nivra, corresponding to the 10 utterances that created the world. We know the world was created in 10 utterances. Kasher Torah emeres keneged, when the Torah, this is brought down the Medrash. So when the Torah says that the 10 blessings that he received correspond keneged is really, so to say, on the corresponding to the 10 utterances. Hari bevades, surely, shainyanim mishtavim l'loy rak b'misparim. It's not just that the numbers match. They have to have a fundamental connection between the idea of the 10 blessings that Yaakov received that's connected to the 10 utterances and why we need 10 utterances to create the world. As we give into Eifen, and because they have a connection between the 10 blessings and the 10 utterances, therefore it works out that the number is also the same. So there's the blessings are the same concept as the utterances, and therefore the number is the same. Not that the number starts as the same thing. But because we understand things backwards, means first we look at the connection. Oh, there's 10. So then there must be a connection, and we try to find the inner connection, not just the number connection. So we first see things as they are at the end. Then we could go forward and see how this all started. From the outcome to the cause, for the effect to the cause. From the easier things to understand to the more complicated. Basically, the Rebbe is saying is that the connection is essential, but our understanding, our awareness of the connection starts with the number, with the similar number, the numbers that are connected. Therefore, hold on, Aaron. He says only afterwards that we once we know that the numbers are the same, it tells us an insight that also the concept is the same. Yes, Aaron.
What are the 10 so that we understand before we go forward?
Sorry?
What are the 10? You said there's 10.
There's 10 utterances, and the 10 blessings and 10 utterances. I'm not going to go into what the 10 blessings are and what the 10 utterances are. The 10 utterances are V'hi, there is light, there is grass, all the 10 utterances that are uttered in the 6 days of creation. So those utterances that God used to create the world, let there be this, let there be that, correspond to the 10 different blessings that were found in the blessings that Yitzchak found from Esav. Yitzchak gave Yaakov. But how do we stand fundamentally the connection between the blessings of Yaakov and the utterances to create the world? So we don't have to. We know the 10 utterances exist, and the 10 blessings exist. So that's obvious. The question is, what is the essential connection? The Rebbe says only to understand that the numbers are the same, that's obvious, but to understand the connection, that's more complicated. Only after we see that the numbers are the same, that gives us insight. And only because we see the numbers, because we're looking backwards forward. So therefore, first we see the numbers, then we see there's a connection, and then we have to understand through applying ourselves to try to figure out what is the essential connection between the blessings of Yaakov and the 10 utterances of creation of the world. Okay. So the Rebbe is going to explain. The Dugma Dover, what's an example to this concept? Isa says that it's brought down, Shermach mitzvahs asay, 148 positive commandments, Hem keneged ramach evarim. They correspond to the 248 limbs of the body. Vishasa leisa, saying the 365 prohibitions. Hem keneged shasa gidim. They correspond to the 365 arteries. Right? So the explanation, he says, that doesn't mean to say Shekol hashaychus hirak b'misper. Again, doesn't just mean that it's just a number question. Ella. So, and what is it? There's an essential connection between the mitzvahs and the limbs of the body. It means when we say the limbs of the body is the limbs of the human body, and also the limbs of the way it represents what's called Adam Kadmon, the initial man, which is God, in the way God is manifested in the concept of initial man, which is Tayarg mitzvahs together, the 365 and 248 create the 613 commandments. Hemevari nefesh, which means that it makes up the human, the person, both their limbs and their arteries. Shmehem nimshach chayis bevari guf, which means that a healthy body that has all their limbs and the arteries functioning properly means that a healthy person. So too, through performing all the mitzvahs that we can do. So that is a healthy person and also brings health and blessings to the world. Pasik, like it says on the verse, Tamim tia emavaylekecha, a person needs to be complete. What does that mean to be complete? Sha'idei hatmimus v'shleimus b'teriyag mitzvahs. I mean, what does it mean the person has to be complete? And when a person is complete in their 613 commandments, nasis tmimus be'vari guf, that brings completion to the human. So then a person has, that makes, and therefore the person's body is going to be complete. A person should have strength and life, a healthy life, a Torah life. Because each mitzvah corresponds to another part of the person's body. So therefore, in order for the person to be complete, is in a way that they complete in their action of the Torah mitzvahs, both in the positive and the prohibitions. So too, it has to be that it corresponds to the body. So you can't have too many mitzvahs or too few mitzvahs, because we want, the idea of the mitzvahs is to bring a person to their completeness. So that's just an example. The same thing it says when it talks about Ariel. How are you? Welcome. It says 10:10 when it's talking about the different measurements of the articles within the tabernacle in the temple. It says 10:10 hakaf b'shekel kodesh, weighed in the holy weighing. The Isazeh that's brought down.
So if we can't do many of the mitzvos, there's no temple in Jerusalem. So does that mean that somehow our bodies or the souls are connected to our limbs and parts of our bodies are defective or not complete?
It's a good question. And for instance, when it comes to, there's certain mitzvahs that people can't do even in the times of the temple. There's certain mitzvahs that are only for Kohanim. So even if the temple were standing, you couldn't do it. There's certain mitzvahs that are for the king. Certain mitzvahs that are for men, certain mitzvahs for women so but when the mitzvahs can be done properly, so the answer is, so the ones who do them, they complete them on the behalf of the others. For instance, the king, there's certain mitzvahs that are specifically only for the king. That's one person, or max two people if there was two kings. I'm not sure if the king in the north had the same commandments as the king in the south.
So now we don't have kings. So
the question is, if it's a good question, if it's defected or not. I have to think about it. I think usually it's tradition. What we answer is that that was taken off us as a responsibility, but it doesn't answer your question if that means bottom line, is there a defect or not? I have to think about that. So he says like this: we know that I think the Maggid, the Mizrich says that the 10 commandments correspond to the 10 utterances. That just like there's 10 utterances to create the world, there's the 10 commandments that keep the world standing. Again, it's not just because the 10 commandments are the same number as the 10 utterances. They are fundamentally connected. What do you mean? The whole point of creation, which is created through the 10 utterances, that happened through the 10 utterances. Torah was created was created for the Torah and by the Torah, B'shvil Torah and Al Yidei Torah. Kamaimer, like it says, it's brought down, Bereshis. What's the beginning of creation? B'shvil HaTorah Shenikareshis. Why did God create the world? Because of Torah, which is called the beginning. And like it says, that there was no completion of creation until the 6th day comes, not just 6th day of creation, but the 6th day of Sivan, which represents the giving of the Torah. Hayom Dimatan Torah, the day of the giving of the Torah. The world was kind of uncertain. It was shaking. Why? They wasn't sure if the existence would continue. The Torah, the world's creation and continuation of existence is dependent on the Jewish people receiving the Torah. And only when the Jewish people received the Torah and accepted the Torah, the world was calm, because the world knows that it's going to continue to exist. There was an existence. There was a kiyum, so to say, from the word like a kinyan, it's going to continue in the creation. And that's why the 10 commandments correspond to the 10 utterances. Hello, Reb Shimon, on page 175. Well, you can see on the Zoom as well. That's why they're equal in their numbers. Because fundamentally they're connected. Why are there 10 utterances? Is because there's 10 commandments. And what's the point of their existence? That the creation that was created with the 10 utterances, mainly the humans, but all creation that's used for the Torah mitzvahs, when we implement the 10 commandments into the 10 utterances, into creation, that's the correspondence, that's the meeting of the, so to say, of the 10 and 10. Therefore, he says, when a Jew, Yehudi, Mikasher, as a Sarma Mars and Masarasa Dibris, when a Jew connects the 10 utterances with the 10 commandments, means you don't separate. What does that mean to connect? You're not separating Torah from the world. The world exists from the 10 utterances. Torah is represented by the 10 commandments. And the point is that we're supposed to bring the 10 commandments into the 10 utterances, and everything that the 10 commandments represent with everything that the 10 utterances represent. Even though there was 10 utterances, there was much more than 10 creations. The Hainu. What does that mean fundamentally? That you light up the world with the light of Torah. And that, so to say, plugging in and connecting the spirit, the 10 commandments with the 10 utterances, is then everything's like lit up. And then there's that allows for the flow, both in material and both in spiritual. Like the Torah clearly says, Moshe says in the end of Vayikra, he conditions it. If you're going to walk in my ways, meaning performing Torah mitzvahs, then the rain is going to be in its right time. So we see clearly that the connection between the mitzvahs and the gashmias, the material blessings, go hand in hand. And all the blessings that are in that part of the beginning of Bechukosai. And because what brings about and allows for this healthy flow between that the physical and the spiritual should be coming healthily in creation is because you brought the 10 commandments into the 10 utterances. Therefore, what is the blessing? It's a blessing of 10. We know that that's what the Rebbes is going to go into. But the blessing of 10, we know 10 is a full number in Judaism. So because you've completed the connection between physical and spiritual, between Torah and creation, so therefore the blessing that comes with it, which is the blessing that Yaakov received, is a blessing of 10. That's why Yaakov was blessed with the 10 blessings. So there's basically 3 things. There's the 10 commandments, there's the 10 utterances, and the 10 blessings. The 10 commandments.
What about the fact that it went into the 365 and the 248, the mitzvot and the parts of the body?
That's the pratim, that's the details. So there's the details, and then there's the klal and the prat. The Saras Adibris is the klal, is the general, just like in creation. The Alter Rebbe says in Shar Yechid Vamuna, There's much more than 10 creations. And there's a lot of creations that are not mentioned in the 10 utterances. For instance, the Alter Rebbe says the word Evan, stone, couldn't just come about on its own. It had to be created. But we don't find the word Evan in the 10 utterances. Why? Because there's Chilufi ICS. You can move around the letters. There's a system how it works. So too over here, there's the 10 utterances against the 10 general commandments. In the 10 commandments is made up of the 365, 630 mitzvahs total, corresponding to the individual as a prat, as an individual. So he says, then that's why Yaakov was given the 10 blessings. So there's three things. There's the 10 commandments, there's the 10 utterances, and there's the 10 blessings, which is received because you connected the 10 utterances with the 10 commandments. And based on this, we'll understand what the Zohar says. Sheshalu Rabbi Eliezer. They asked Rabbi Eliezer, evidently his students, maybe. Ma'adua brichas Yaakov lo niskamu, or brichas Esav niskamu. They asked the hard question. Why do we find that Jacob's blessings are not really fulfilled, right? Who's the punching bag of the world? The Jewish people. And the Esav, look, like the rabbis saw Rome and its glory. So why was that? So Vehesha Rabbi Eliezer answered, Yaakov not le'ela. Yaakov took le'ela. Le'ela means l'mayla, above. Esav not le'tata. Esav took below in this world. So therefore, you're looking from where Esav is standing. In Esav's world, he got the blessings. This is his answer. But Yaakov, it's above, and you're not above now. You can't see the blessings of Yaakov. We'll see what the Rebbe explains what that means. Yuvin, and we'll understand that page 176. Apima Shakasiv, it says Sitkasai Aimedes La'ad. A person's righteousness, also tzedakah, when a person gives charity, it stands for a person forever. La'ad is forever. Tzedakah chesed the mitzvahs b'chlal. The Rebbe says tzedakah specifically, charity, and in general kind deeds and the commandments in general. Shemakayim mate that we do now. That's the whole idea of the separation. Birura means really the refinement of the world by engaging the world and performing mitzvahs with physical things. So we're elevating the world. That's birurim, the avodah of elevation and transformation and separation, separating the good from the bad. So when a person does a mitzvah, it stands for the person forever. It's a famous concept. And when a person performs a mitzvah, it's like money going into a bank account. The light goes into the world of Atzilus. But the light stays like in a box forever. But it's not always like, a person doesn't have their money sitting on their table the whole day. Gives an example like precious stones. A person puts them in a safety deposit box. Then when are we going to see all what we've done basically? Ahmed Islad is when Mashiach comes. When Mashiach comes, we're going to understand, means as much as we see now, the effect of our mitzvahs, that's nothing to what's really happening. And we're going to appreciate that and see that with the coming of Mashiach, and hopefully speeding our time. Kivan. Like we said before, because the blessings come connected to our performance of the mitzvahs, just like we don't see today the light that we do in a mitzvah, it stays kimunach bekufsa, it's like in a box, kenu gam bracha, so to the blessings. Means that's what the Rebbe is explaining Rebbe Eliezer answer. That just like we just said before, that the 10, 10, and 10 are connected. That when you take the 10 utterances, the 10 commandments, and you implement them in the 10 utterances, brings 10 blessings. But we don't see the effect of our implementing the 10 commandments in the 10 utterances. We don't necessarily see the effect on the world. So too, we don't see the blessings. Keinu gamba brachas. It's le'ela. It's for another time. It's for a futuristic time. It's above. It's like the lights that are above. And therefore, that's Rebbe Eliezer answering that we don't see the blessings that Yaakov has, whereas Esav took the blessings now. Avalasid Messiah Zohar. The Zohar continues. Zohar. Yitol Yaakov Gamatata. Then it's going to be not just above, but Yaakov's going to also take everything's going to change in this world. Yis Avid Esav Mikula. Esav is going to lose everything. Yitol Yaakov Le'elo Tata. The Zohar says Yaakov is going to take both above and below. Almedain va'almed asi, in our world and the world of the future. Masim gamkein lahanal, and this is also makes sense. Kishem shagili or hanifla de mitzvahs gal lasad lavefil begashmi. It's just like later when the Mashiach comes, we're going to see not just what the Rebbe is saying is when Mashiach comes, we're not going to be able to only open the box. of where the light is or have access to see through the box. The box is going to be open, and therefore the lights that we've done in our mitzvahs are now going to affect the entire world. So to the mitzvah, the brachas are going to affect the entire world. Not that we're going to be above, but the brachas are going to come down, like the lights are going to come down. So he says, the lights of the effect, so to say, of the mitzvahs we've done as individuals in our lifetime and as the Jewish people as a whole throughout the generations is going to affect all the way down the physical. That's what's so unique about the time in the future. That unlike today, where things are separate, that when we do a mitzvah, we don't see the light. That the Gashmis is not going to disappear, it's going to be here. And with the Gashmis, we're going to see the blessings. So too when it comes to the blessings. She's Avid Esav. Esav is going to lose all their hold on material. The Tata in this lower world. Yaakov is going to have both the physical blessings and the spiritual blessings, or both the blessings above and below. The Rebbe doesn't go deeper into that concept. I mean, that's the way it is. It means there's a lot of questions we could ask on that, meaning to say, how does it actually work as far as brachas in this world today? The Rebbe has many talks about that, and in separate talks to explain the difference between the blessings we see now and the blessings that are going to come in the days of Mashiach. Similarly, I've seen one answer the Rebbe gives us a difference between, it's like the difference between an expense account and a salary at the end of your job. So if someone takes a job on kablonis, right? So you're going to be successful. You know, when you finish the job, you're going to get paid. But while you're doing the job, you also need to live and you need to eat and you have expenses. So the blessings we get today is more like an expense account. But the blessings, the actual reward, the actual pay is going to come when we complete the entire job. Mashiach comes. And he says that, but the Rebbe continues nevertheless like this. Isa bekisvei harizal. It's brought down in the writings of the Hari HaKadosh. V'huva v'magen Avram lahalacha. And this that the Arizal writes is brought down actually lahalacha, means not just Kabbalistic, it's brought into the halachic by the Magen Avram. A person should try to taste on Friday afternoon or sometime during the Friday when you're cooking the food on Shabbos, to taste the foods of Shabbos on Erev Shabbos. A person tastes, brings life. So a person should be tasting and enjoying the foods of Shabbos even on Friday. It means basically kind of you're bringing in the flavor of Shabbos already in Friday afternoon, Friday on before Shabbos. V'kiva, and he says like this. So if one was to look at the time of life, of history, the world is only going to exist for 6,000 years. That's brought down in the Gemara. It's a clear Gemara. It's not just the Gemara says the world is in the last 6,000 years. And we're already now 5,785. We're ready now after Shabbos, after midday, because midday would be 5,700, 5,500. Now we're 5,700, already well past Chatzos. Just like we're supposed to start tasting the foods of Shabbos on Erev Shabbos, especially after Chatzos, so to now, after 5,500 years, we should start tasting the benefits of Mashiach now, not just the expense account, but the actual reward. There's when you taste it, you have not just a taste, you have part of the substance itself. Like the Rebbe says in Yiddish, B'shas men is toim hot ben dach oich. A taste is also something. It's not a smell. Smell is, a smell, but a taste is actually, you tasted something. Where do we see this? Is when did the revelations of the inner parts of Torah start? In the second half of the 6,000th year. When did we start revealing the secrets of Torah that only came properly in the life, starting from the life of the Arizal? Before recently, when I say recently, I mean the past few hundred years. It was only for very specific individuals. But there's achreinim, later years, mitzvah legali says a chachma. That Rizal says it's a commandment to start revealing the inner secrets of Torah, and that's part of tasting the taste of Mashiach. What is Mashiach? Revelation of godliness. What is Chassidus? What is Kabbalah? The revelation of godliness. Ubefrat, specifically, that even more so, Ayidei Baal Shem Tov. When Baal Shem Tov came and started to teach Chassidus, which was even more teaching and understanding of the secrets of Torah. Aidei Chassidus HaKlalis, the general teachings of Chassidus. Ubefrat, and specifically on this specific Aidei Admor Hazaken, to the Alter Rebbe when he started to teach Chassidus Chabad, the Chabad philosophy of Chassidus, starting with the Tanya and the Likutei Torah and the Torah Or and all the Maimorim of the Rebbeim afterwards, which takes Torah, the teachings of Torah, of the inner secrets of Torah on a high intellectual level. We're even spreading more in a way of total blasting. Yafutz is to spread out the wellsprings of Chassidus out into the world. And today, in the past 70, 80 years, it's come even more in different languages and availability. And that continues to be more and more available. We're seeing this happening. We're seeing this idea of that we're getting closer to Mashiach clearly from the signs of the way the revelation of the secrets of Torah is happening on an abundant in a level that we've never seen before. And that even in our lifetime is changing. When I came to Eretz Yisrael the 20 years ago, 25 years ago, Yitzchak Kislev was very small. It wasn't such a big holiday. Today, Yitzchak Kislev is celebrated in all of Israel for a week. Hundreds of thousands of people go to the convention center in Jerusalem to celebrate Yitzchak Kislev and celebrated world nationwide. The whole Eretz Yisrael celebrates Yitzchak Kislev. That was not happening when I came to Eretz Yisrael 1995, 97. Even though the main, it's not the you eat this. The main, maybe you have a little bowl of chicken soup on Friday, maybe a small piece of chicken, but you're not supposed to eat the main meal before Shabbos. You eat the main meal on Shabbos. Even though that the main secrets of Torah will be revealed with the coming of Mashiach, God is going to give us the kiss of the mouth, which represents the secrets of Torah. Appears Rashi. Rashi says, and Rashi again, it's not a Kabbalistic teacher. It says, what does that mean that we're going to have the kiss of the mouth? It's going to be the secrets of Torah that are going to be revealed in the times of Mashiach. Alpha BK, nevertheless, like on Friday, we start to taste the food. So now we're already starting to get the revelations that are coming with Mashiach. This is very much connected to Kislev, because Kislev is the month of Yitzchak Kislev, which is the month where we celebrate the Rosh Hashanah of Chassidus. And a lot of the talks on Yitzchak Kislev is explaining this idea of why did Chassidus start specifically in the later generations. Is b'derech te'ima, at least we have a taste. But Zman De'erev Shabbos, like on a Friday afternoon, and specifically after midday. You know that on Shabbos, after midday, already people should stop working if you can. There's a lot of things we stop doing Friday midday to really get closer to Shabbos. And the Rebbe says, what's this all mean to us practically? The Rebbe says, the fact is, after midday, in the span of creation, the Rebbe says, not only midday, or after the mincha time. Now that since the Rebbe said this talk in 1958, that we tagged on another good few years, right? We have to start tasting the taste of Mashiach. We have to start seeing the blessings of Yaakov above and below, because like we said, Mashiach comes, like the Zohar says, it's going to be also below. And therefore the Rebbe says, not just spiritually. We should start seeing abundance of spiritual growth and spiritual revelations and also material revelation. The Rebbe is blessing everyone, that everyone should have blessings and success begashmias in a material way, beruchnis in a spiritual way, and not in a concept, but b'toiv hanir vanigla, in a revealed, open way. We see clearly that the blessings are happening, and we can see clearly there's Baruch Hashem. Not talking about a lot of the individuals that may still be struggling, and still everyone should have this blessing. It shouldn't be for only people, but definitely if you look the way Jews lived in even 100 years ago, 200 years ago in the shtetl, the opportunities today are much greater. You had individuals that were successful. Today you had the mass people are living Baruch Hashem and Ken Yirbu in a better material way, and there's still a lot more that needs to be done, and God should bless. Everyone should participate in that. Okay. That's how the Rebbe finishes the first talk. It says, and the Rebbe said they should sing the Maimer Nigun, and he said the Maimer and Eilu told us Yitzchak. Okay, let's continue in the Fabringen. Sifches. The Rebbe says like this: Apia Mevur by Maimer, based on what it says in the Maimer that the Rebbe talked about, which we did not learn. Yuvan Atam will understand. Shematzinu Midrashas Chalukas Binyan Zaman Hamuura Debrichas Yitzchak Yaakov. There's different questions. When was in the time of the year, basically? When was it? Because we know the time of his life. it says that Sarah died at 127. Rashi says Yitzchak blessed Yaakov when he was 123, 5 years before his mother died, because from 5 years a person has to be concerned maybe they're going to pass away at the age of one of their parents, and his mother died 127, so he's already started to be concerned to take care of his affairs at the age of 123. But what time of the year was it? So the Rebbe says, we find a Medrash says, b'chag Pesach, and Rashi quotes that as well, that it was on the Pesach. That's why he asked for such a large portion, because just like on Pesach we have the two sacrifices, the Chagiga and the Korban Pesach, so too he wanted two parts of the meat. Echad keneged Pesach, and one for the Pesach and one for his taste. But the Zohar doesn't agree with the Medrash, and the Zohar says it happened on Rosh Hashanah. So there's a difference of opinion. One opinion is, in Rashi quotes the Medrash, saying that it was Pesach, and that was his birthday, right? Yitzchak, I believe, was born on Pesach, but the Zohar says it happened on Rosh Hashanah, the Day of Judgment. The Rebbe says seemingly the Medrash's opinion that the blessing happened on Shabbos doesn't exactly make sense. Why? Because he says Pesach and Rosh Hashanah, the two opposite directions. Pesach and Yani Kavam Shachim Ma'almat. Pesach is all about bringing from above down. We know Pesach is the month of miracles. In general, Tishrei and Nisan are a very different direction. Begili Hachsadim, it's all about bringing down the kindness. Vila Rosh Hashanah and Yani Kav Halam Mata Lamaila. Rosh Hashanah is all about is the opposite. We're going from above up. That's why the letters of Tishrei is Taf Reish and Yud. It's going backwards. You have to elevate. There's a day of judgment. So they dinu mishpat. Then how do we elevate? Through judgment and limitations. Yitzchak and Yani Kav Gevura, and Yitzchak is Gevura. So if Nisan is the month of Chesed, more than the month of Avram, the month of giving, and Rosh Hashanah is the month of judgment, the month of Gevura, so the Zohar makes sense that when would he bless? In the month that corresponds, in the time that corresponds with his style, which is the style of Gevura, which is the Midah of Gevura. So the idea is like this. Based on what we learned in the Maimer, again, the Rebbe said this Maimer on that Shabbos, we didn't learn it, but we'll catch up in a second. That everything has to be known, that the system of Kedusha is a skalulus, has to be coexistence. And therefore, in the elevations of Yitzchak, it's not only going one direction, also has within it the bringing down the chesed of Avram. Anytime you have an elevation, it has to be, there's a circle, it's circular. So when you're elevating, it comes together with the bringing down of a flow. That who did God console with about the creation? The souls of angels, the souls of the righteous, which is Sham Shach, the Chavetz Chesed. Why was God giving kindness? Shalmai Lamata, which is an act, means creation is an act of kindness, which from above down. Babasiva Hala Shalmata Lamai came because he talked, so to say, he consulted with the souls. So it means there was an idea coming from below. So therefore Yitzchak is not just the Gevura, but there has to be hisgalus, coexistence, the balance of, although he was mainly Gevura, but also had the concept of Chesed. This is what we find in Birchas Yitzchak, in the blessings of Yitzchak, that he says, it's a beautiful line. This is a beautiful concept of Chassidus. He says, make me a tasteful food as I like it, but the word matamim is plural. That as if Yitzchak has two foods that he likes. I mean, the minimum of plural is two, right? Shematamim kayal vayt. The matamim means, what does Yitzchak like? Yitzchak likes when we do something. The avoda of creation. I mean, the avoda of the person. Matamim lashon rabim, but it's also plural. Yitzchak loves two types of food. The food of the Baal Tshuva, the struggle, overcoming the challenge, doing tshuva, returning, and the vod of the tzaddik, which is more direct, which is or yosher, the light going down. It's more like hamshacha. Tzaddik does everything properly. Baal Tshuva is an or chayzer, is a reflecting light. You have to hit sometimes rock bottom to go backwards. And because Yaakov likes the Yitzchak likes the taste of both the tzaddik and the Baal Tshuva, which in general, every avodah is from below above. But that makes Vanasuli, that gives me a good taste, that it affects that there should be a flow downwards. I mean, there's always a response. The idea that one of the basics of Chassidus is of Ratziv Shoiv, and there's action and reaction. Also, Rosh Hashanah, the main thing is after we elevate ourselves, is to bring down the blessing of the new year. Say that Tkiyas Rosh Hashanah, when we blow the shofar on Rosh Hashanah, Tkiya Shvarim through a Tkiya. Well, we blow a straight Tkiya, which is a single sound. Then we have the broken sound of 3 sounds. Then we have the Trua, the 9 sounds. And then we go to a complete sound, again, a single sound. Before, first you have a direct sound. And between that is the broken sound, the 2 types of broken sound. What does that represent? The difference between the shvarim, the Rebbes says, an interesting concept, and the trua. Again, the shvarim is the 3 sounds, and the trua is the broken sound. Is the difference between the avoda of the tzaddik and the Baal Tshuva, which is ha'alam and matal ma'ila. Basically, both of them are, even though, like I said before, the tzaddik are yasher, but in the bigger picture, both of them are serving God upwards. But they come between the direct sound. Just like say that first God gives us, empowers us, that's the tkiya, and then we have the avodah of the tzaddik and the Baal Tshuva, and then we have the effect of our avodah, which is again the tkiya. Just like the elevation is between the flow going downwards. The first has to bring there has to be a flow before we can elevate. That's why it says Yitzchak ben Avram, Yitzchak the son of Avram. That's the first kiyah. And then there's after we do our voda versus Avram, Yitzchak. That's again that the Yitzchak Avram, the voda brings down Yitzchak. Which is the second kiyah. Again, we're getting a little bit of a glimpse of what the Rebbe spoke about in the Maimer. That's why we do the Fabrengen, because the Fabrengen is just the way it was said, and we try to understand the best we can. But the first one is only the initial flow to give us, the empower us that we should do our avodah. The final flow of our avodah of the 10 days of tshuva is on Yom Kippur, when we blow the shofar at the end of Yom Kippur to signify that after all our service and all our tshuva and all our praying, we're able to bring down the flow of a good gebenched year, a good blessed year. So therefore, now based on this, we'll understand the medrash that says, that he said that Yitzchak wanted to bless Yaakov. He said, the medrash says, where my father stopped his blessing, I will start my blessing. And it says the same thing about Yaakov and Moshe. He says, Avram finished by Vayitin. I just want to see, that is chapter 25, 5. So he says, just to get that pasuk, I don't know it offhand. It says, Vayitin Avram is called Shalal Yitzchak, right? It says that Avram gave everything to Yitzchak. So that's how he finished it off. He finished off by giving everything to Yitzchak. And I'm going to start from giving. Is this a joke? We're playing around with words. What's the difference that Yaakov used the word Vayitin, that Yitzchak used the word Vayitin, and Avram used the word Vayitin? But so the explanation is, right where the direct light finishes, which is Or Yasher, means a direct light. Coming from, like I said, the tzaddik is from above down. Right where it finishes, when it starts reflecting. Where do you start reflecting? Reflecting has to bounce off the bottom. So first you go from above down, and when you hit bottom, you start going back up. It's the reflecting light. From below above. Where the revelations stop, it causes, it means, here the Rebbe is saying, this is kind of a mimer talk, but what the Rebbe is saying is a deep concept, that we're as long as the flow is coming, you're on the receiving. So you're taking. You're makabel, you're taking. As soon as the direct light stops coming down, all of a sudden, then you start going towards the light, because while it's coming down, you're receiving. But when it finishes, now you want to go towards the source of the light. So when's the yearning start? Only after you're receiving. Or Chayzer the Yitzchak shebederech matal ma'ala nichol gam shachar yoshad Avram shebederech matal mata. Therefore, it's all inclusive. Where Avram finishes the direct light to Chesed. So therefore, basically, what he's trying to say is that's why Yitzchak was able to give the blessings on Pesach, because just even though Yitzchak is judgment, which is more gevura, which is more from above up, and that's generally what Chassidus teaches us about Yitzchak's avoda, which is that he reveals from within. But that's all to have a response to that. Everything has to be responsive. There's never one direction. That's why it says in the pasuk, "V'salachti," I'm walking plural. God walks back and forth, up and down. There has to be a flow going in circular. This idea, the Yitzchak levarach kibul, that Yitzchak had to bless kibul mi Avram. He got it from Avram. It means where did Yitzchak have the ability to be a person that blesses? God said to Avram that you should have the blessing. I'm giving you the power of blessing. It was given to Avram. And Avram gave that to Yitzchak. Therefore, it's a continuation. It's not playing with the words. It means my father blessed up until a point, and I'm going to continue that because everything's circular. We continue. You don't start again. Why does Yitzchak have an ability to serve God, to go upwards, to have a ratzi, to have a yearning? Is because he received an inspiration from Avram. Okay. This is a Kabbalistic Hasidic concept. We're going to go a little further. I want to see if we could get to another idea before we finish the class, if everyone's okay with that. Isa b'medrash, says in Medrash, what was the blessing coming from heaven? The blessing coming from heaven was like the man that fell from heaven in the desert. Because we know that the man came covered in dew. It was kind of sandwiched in. There was a dew on the bottom, then fell the man. On top of that, to keep it fresh, so to say, was a dew fell on top of it. It's like in a box. Dew never stops. Rain sometimes we have, sometimes we don't. Because again, tal is something that comes from above. It's not dependent on the person. That's why Esav traditionally got the bracha of tal. That's why Esav doesn't have to do avoda. Just like the man, a person didn't work for it. It was bread from heaven. And when he says Mishmani arts from the fat of the earth, that was the well of Miriam that came with it, not just water, but also very fatty fishes. Good fishes came with the well of Miriam. That's the first time I'm seeing that. That the blessing of Rav Dagan is the young boys, and Mesirosh, which is the young girls. Nimsa. We have everything. The Rebbe says the man represents the attribute of wisdom. Shinyani Giliar, that's the idea of revelation, like the man came down. Mishmaniar, it's then the fat of the earth is the bearer, is the well, is the sphere of bina, understanding. That's fat. Like you have a good comprehension. She bechinis may have airs like the water of the well. And not even b'derech matlamayla that comes from above up. That's the water comes up. And that's the 7 attributes, and the 6 attributes, and the female, the young girls is the malchus, is kingship, which you know is female. The Rebbe says, what's this all mean? The Rebbe is talking a little cryptic. God should bless everyone. The bottom line is we have to bring down the light all the way. Everyone has to do everything they can to bring down the wisdom and the understanding and the 7 midos. And we should be able to start to actualize. Everyone should be blessed with healthy families. That's the best blessing one could receive, is to have with themselves a healthy family. And the Rebbe says, I'm just going to finish. The Rebbe said, anyone who has a birthday in this month, I'm assuming he means the month of Kislev. No, No, I think either he means Kislev or Cheshvan. Either way, Shesei L'chaim. The Rebbe says like this. I'm going to do one last piece because the Farbrengen is almost over. We'll just finish the Farbrengen. Shabbos Mevorchim Kol Yimei HaChodesh. When we bless the new month, it includes all the days of the month. That's why it's called Mevorchim. Mevorchim HaChodesh. We bless the month. Ubefrat specifically, Shabbos Mevorchim Shugam Erev Chodesh. This Shabbos is also like this year. It's not just Shabbos Mevorchim. It's also Erev Chodesh. I'm already standing halfway. That means already on Shabbos itself. We're already into Rosh Chodesh. The Rebbe says already the new moon was already there. At least that year. Therefore, the Rebbe says Shabbos afternoon was surely already in all the days of the month of Kislev. The Rebbe says the main day of the month of Kislev is the day of the new year of Chassidus, which is Yutes Kislev. And the Rebbe says, may it be God's will. That every person should be able to bring down all the flows that are connected to Chassidus in an abundance. And the Rebbe then continues, he finishes off the Farbrengen, that at Mincha we already start to read the Parsha Vayetze. In the Pasuk Vayetze, and the Pasuk starts off, we know that in Chassidus explains, what does it mean Vayetze Yakum Be'er Shava? Is like the soul has to leave Be'er Sheva, the well of seven, and going down to the Charan, to the world. Vayetze Yakum Be'er Shava, and you read Sansham Misharsha, that represents the soul that has to go down from its source. It's talking about the place where the soul comes from, whether it's the Malchus, is where the actual souls come from, or the thinking of the souls come from, which is the attribute of Bina, understanding. And where does Yaakov have to go? All the way down to Charan. The Charan Afshal Makim, to the place of anger of the world, like it says in our rabbis have taught us. We have to remember, when God doesn't put us in this world, so we should have to just go through pain. Matrin zich means that we should just schlep. Chas v'shalom, God forbid. The point of the whole creation, that we go down to Charan, we go down to the world, and we have to refine and elevate and find the sparks in creation. The taste of Aliyah ben Hashem, it elevates the soul. The soul has to get an elevation when it fulfills its purpose of going down to this world. Like it says, Vayavi Yaakov Shalom, Yaakov comes complete. When is he complete? Only after he finishes 22 years by Lavan. Shalom begufe, shalom b'mayne, shalom b'terasi. He is complete in his body, complete in his money, and complete in his Torah. Not just that, we get to the revelations of the Mashiach. The only reason, the only schus, the only merit we have that we're going to experience all the great revelations of Mashiach is not because of anything, but because we've worked for it. We went out to the world and we separated the world and found the sparks. We know when Yaakov came back from Lavan, he was already done. I did everything. I'm ready for Mashiach. It was Esav that wasn't ready. That he had the sheep. The sheep weren't ready yet, but Yaakov himself was ready. The Rebbe says that was then, 3,500 years ago. Everything's passed. All the deadlines are passed. Not just Yaakov, but all the Jewish people. We're ready to go to Mashiach. And the Rebbe finishes off his talk. God should bless everyone. That we should meet the angels of God. That it's plural. The Machanaim is the place of plural, which means the angels of Chutz La'aretz and the angels of Eretz Yisrael together in a way of redemption. It looks like the end of the Farbrengen kind of was cut out. All right, everyone, those who are going back to their Thanksgiving meal, enjoy. And of course, everyone have a good Shabbos and a good Chodesh. Take care. Thanks for joining.
Good Shabbos. Thank you, Rabbi. Good Shabbos, everybody.